So in today's video, we're going to talk about this. I'm going to break it down and tell you the truth as to why sometimes manifesting, especially manifesting an SPBAC, does not feel so easy and effortless. So stay tuned. You definitely don't want to miss this. Hey everyone, it's Kim Velez, Conscious Life and Success Coach, and I'm really excited to have you here with me today. Before we dive in, if you have not received my free 22-page workbook called Limitless in Love, the link is below. It's a free workbook, so definitely check it out. I haven't shared this in such a long time, but people love it whenever they download it and actually go through the workbook and use it. Okay, so let's talk about this. Why do they say like manifesting is supposed to be easy and effortless? And sometimes when you're affirming, if you're affirming too much, then that means you're not doing it right. Well, we're going to knock that bullshit out. And I'm going to tell you the truth because I'm so sick of people not spreading the truth and spreading their limited beliefs and their false understanding of what you're actually doing. So thank goodness I'm here to share the truth. Okay, so let's talk about this, right? So first and foremost, manifesting is easy and effortless in the sense that our mind is so powerful. All we have to do is think of something and it comes into fruition, right? It's really that simple. However, especially when we're manifesting specific persons, this is what's happening is you're literally reprogramming. See, your subconscious mind does not believe that you are this version of you receiving what you want. Your subconscious mind, for a lot of people, already have programmed in it affirmations that say you're not worthy, you don't get what you want, love is hard, love sucks, this is not good, this, that, the blah, 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 all this negative, yucky stuff, right? So this is why it cannot feel easy and effortless for people because the way to reprogram your mind is through repetition. So what you're doing is you're replacing that belief system, i.e. self-concept, when it comes to manifesting a specific person through law of assumption. So you don't assume naturally that, you know, you're the fucking prize, that you're always chosen and wanted if you're someone who keeps manifesting the opposite. So it isn't going to feel easily and effortlessly for you because it's not your natural assumption. So that's why you're constantly reaffirming and using repetition until it becomes a natural assumption. I mean, this is what happens. Thoughts turn into assumptions. So you're changing a thought system, a natural assumption that's not in your favor, and you're reprogramming it to make it one that is in your favor. So then it's on autopilot and you don't have to consciously affirm for it. So that is the only reason why it doesn't feel easy and effortless for some people, depending on what they're manifesting, because their limiting beliefs are programmed in and say otherwise. And they dominantly are used to thinking, feeling, and having this self-concept. You know, they're not trusting in the unseen. They're not believing they're worthy enough to receive this. They keep focusing on the old reality, the old versions of themselves and this person, because that has been their dominant story. That is what is programmed in their mind. That is what part of the brain, the neurons are, you know, lit up and firing away, and it's very comfortable to thinking, feeling, and being. So that is what we're doing here. We're changing an old natural assumption that's not what you want, and you're replacing it with one that you want. And it takes effort, it requires discipline, and it requires repetition. So what does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean this. It doesn't fucking mean that you're gonna repeat over and over just to hurry up and make your 3D shift. That's where a lot of people get things twisted. And I honestly believe with going through it myself, as well as working with thousands and thousands of you guys, everybody has to somewhat go through that. This is what transformational work is. And this is where you're reprogramming and challenging that old story. And that old story wants to, like Neville says, the old man pull you back. So it isn't enough to just be like, oh, it's done, it's done. And I get so annoyed when I hear these people telling you like, well, you don't need to do this or that, just know it's done. Well, not everyone assumes that and believes that because their dominant old story says otherwise. So you have to replace that old story so it's easier for you to accept and believe that it's done. So, you know, everybody's different too with how much programming they need. Everybody's different with how long it's going to take them. This is why you don't ever compare yourself to others. You only compare yourself to you and how you're thinking and what is shifting inside of you internally, because all of this out here will eventually catch up to the new dominant story. So this is why, so going back to you're not affirming to make your 3D change, because you got to get off that mindset. You have to trust and know, well, if the 3D is a hologram, the 3D is always reflecting to me my dominant story, then my goal is to keep reinforcing a story in my mind that is me getting what I want, that is me receiving what I desire, that is me living the life of the relationship, the money, the career, whatever it is that I want, right? That's what you're doing. You're changing your inside. You're changing your programming so that it starts to be the way you naturally think. See, a lot of this feels forced in the beginning of this process because with law of assumption, again, your natural assumption in this area has not been favorable. So you can't just think one thought or two thoughts and that's it, because there's a lot more, maybe thousands, that are programmed already that say otherwise. And your dominant story is what manifests. So that's what you're doing. You're changing your story. And it's literally, one thought at a time. And it's trusting and knowing in this process that I'm so fucking powerful. My mind is what manifests, that all I have to do is consistently reaffirm a new beautiful story of who I am, and me being that version of me, receiving what it is that I desire, right? And focusing on the outcome, focusing on the story that you want to experience. That is all you have to do. And you really want to start shifting out of that mindset that, I'm doing this and then checking 3D, because that's you still dominantly being in the old mindset. And again, everybody has to go through that to some extent, but you really want to look at, I want to circumvent that process as fast as possible. So I want to start understanding in my brain that I have to believe and trust, not to manifest, but trust in the unseen, knowing that as long as I'm changing my concept of self in relation to what I want, and I'm changing my story of who this fucking person is and how people show up for me in my reality, at some point out here, since it's a fucking hologram and it's mirroring back this dominant story that's in my mind, this will shift to match that. And when you understand that, and you keep moving you into the version of you through affirming that is loved, wanted, chosen, is good enough, no one else compares to her, or you, he, she, whatever, because you're the fucking best, you will believe it eventually, because you're turning your thought about you into an assumption. And the more you reinforce it and reprogram it and connect to it over and over again, at some point your subconscious will accept it as truth. And you'll really know when you start naturally thinking it yourself. And that is huge. That's when you're like, oh my gosh, wow, I'm really changing my inner programming. I'm changing the old beliefs that weren't working well for me, and I'm replacing them with new ones. So I don't want you to think that means you're not manifesting, because there's a lot of misinformation out there where they really try to keep us stuck from understanding the process of what it actually takes to reprogram your mind, and really know and trust that, okay, this is working. It's always working because I keep directing my thinking to focus on what I want. And you got to let go of the control of needing it now. Why do you need it now? Well, if you need it now, it's because what? I don't feel like I have it. I feel like something is missing. And that tells you I'm still dominantly in the old version of me. I'm trying to force something outside of me in the physical realm to shift, shape, and mold fast to give me what the fuck I want. Doesn't work like that. It's temporary fix. So you go within. You're changing your perspective of you and your assumptions of you in relation to your SP. You're changing your perspective of your SP. You're changing your assumptions of your SP. So you're not going to fucking believe it right away. Most people don't. That's why you persist. You persist in who you are. No, I am good enough and worthy to fucking be committed to. I am chosen. You're going to rewrite your history by choosing to focus on something different. And that is why the brain doesn't like it. So this is where the effort is required, in the sense, again, I'm not doing this to hurry up and force a physical change. I'm doing this because I'm paying attention as a conscious creator of where my thoughts are going. And if my thoughts are going somewhere that's not favorable, I have to redirect my thinking. There is no other way. So you can do techniques. Techniques work wonders, but if your mental diet doesn't match those techniques, like if your mental diet isn't supporting what that technique was, whether it's visualizing, SATs, whatever it is, then you're going to undo everything. This is why I get so annoyed, because so many people don't understand how the brain works in regards to programming and what it really means to have a natural assumption. This is why, like I said, I am a certified hypnosis person. I don't do hypnosis. Why? It's not an answer. If you don't change your thinking throughout the day when your brain is active and awake, and your dominant story says the opposite of what you just had hypnosis for, or when you guys are sleeping to these meditations, they're not your savior. If they were, everybody would reprogram their mind that way. It's the placebo effect. This is why hypnosis does not work for a lot of people, and for some people it does, because the people it works for, they've accepted it. Yep, this is who I am. This is what's happened. They don't fight it. There isn't an opposing story all day long that says the opposite. Or this is why hypnosis can work in the beginning, and then in a couple weeks, the person starts thinking or doing the same behavior pattern that they went prior to hypnosis. Why is that? Because they undid the subconscious programming with their conscious fucking mind. It wasn't dominant. Their thinking throughout the day was still the same. So this is why techniques are a good tool, a supplement, but they're not your answer. Your literal thoughts, your inner stories and conversations that you have to yourself is what changes everything. So Neville was very clear, so stop listening to the Neville coaches that tell you he didn't support that, because he clearly fucking did. Yes, he was someone who liked stats and all those things too, but it was very clear in his teachings. Inner conversations are the fucking king, and once you master that, you can drop all and any techniques. So I just wanted to support you with that. Now, I do say this, you do what feels the best for you in that moment, right? So even if you don't have a lot of negative assumptions or a history of, you know, an unfavorable pattern in your life that you're reprogramming those limiting beliefs from childhood, and let's say you want to manifest something and you don't have a negative story that goes against it, try visualization if you like it, try to journal, try to do sats with it, see if it works for you. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, and it will most likely manifest because there isn't a mental diet going on throughout the day that's telling you the opposite. So you get to play with this stuff and see what works best for you, but please don't look for the quick fix in the sense of I don't want to master my mind, so I'm going to listen to these other people that tell you I don't have to. Because those people don't understand what you're actually doing. If you're someone who already has a natural assumption that is not favorable for them, we're not talking about manifesting little things that there isn't programming in place already that say you can't have this. That's not what we're talking about here. That's easy. There's not an opposing story all day long. You're not going to be triggered by it, things like that come up where an old version of you is rearing its head. The old story is coming to life and it's dominantly still in your subconscious. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about a natural assumption you have that is not fucking favorable. The best way to manifest what it is that you actually want is to pay attention to what you're focused on when you think of it, and really reprogramming that beautiful mind so then you can actually keep it. So I hope you found this video helpful. Please like, share, and subscribe if you did, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.